alternative talk radio. Get ready, America, for Deadline Live with your host, Jack Blood. Deadline Live is the daily wrap-up for those too busy in the daily grind to discern and dissect the news. While the so-called mainstream media buries the truth, Jack Blood uncovers it, exposing the lies that our trusted government officials do not want us to know. And now, please welcome Jack Blood.
Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us, folks. That's what we do here. Expose the lies, the disinformation, the war propaganda, and the social engineering that your trusted government officials and their controllers do not want you to know about. Welcome to this live, original edition of Deadline Live. It is the 8th day of September, 2010. I'm Jack Blood, your narrator, your radio gun reporting for the next 2 hours. Let's see. 9 years ago today, I was woefully ignorant. Thought that the biggest problem we had was that the Republicans had stolen the election and had taken office and, just enjoyed bliss as it was, doing my political radio show back then called Deadline Live. Oh, I'm still doing that show 9 years later. Just a couple of days after which my life changed, as did all of yours, as did the world. It is, of course, our weekly tribute all this week to the anniversary of 9/11, which is this Saturday. Joining us on the show today, two guests, heavyweights, Dylan Avery on the line with us now, and J. Michael Springman, who was a witness to just how easy it was for the terrorists to, with government assistance, the alleged terrorists, come to the United States of America. A very intelligent guy, worked for the government, and has doubts about 9/11, just like all of us do. On the line with us now is Dylan Avery. Of course, he is the originator, the creator of the Loose Change film documentary series. That, I believe, did more to wake up people to 9/11 and younger people from 9/11 than anything else, maybe everything else put together. I was very proud to give Dylan his first interview for the film series and to be one of the first supporters for Loose Change. Of course, Loose Change 2 and 3 just changed everything. The latest film, which I love, and I wish more people would show it and still talk about it, is absolutely amazing. Of course, that is Loose Change 9/11, an American coup, narrated by actor Daniel Sinjata, also himself a 9/11 truther. Dylan Avery joins us here in this first hour. Dylan, great to have you with us. Been a while.
Jack, good to be back.
What have you been doing? Last year you released the film. From everything I can see, the film did pretty well. I guess you can give us a report on that and tell us what you've been up to.
Sure, yeah. American Coup came out, last September 22nd, and it's just been kind of rolling along. It's on Netflix. I still get a lot of people hitting me up saying that they saw it on there. So it's out there. It's doing its thing like all the other films are, but after that movie came out, the floodgates kind of opened for me creatively, and I started tackling a lot of projects. I started writing a bunch of scripts that I had wanted to for a couple of years, and I started actually in February of this year. I began filming a new documentary, which actually is not political and is hardly it's a radical departure from what a lot of people would expect from me. It's about my buddy Wes Davis, who's a teacher and a musician here in San Diego. And he's been drinking a half a gallon of coffee every day for 17 years. So the movie is him not drinking coffee for 21 days. And it was we just kind of tackled it. We were hanging out in the first week of February and said, yeah, let's just do this and see how it turns out. Just because I was itching to start filming something and just start working on anything because where I live is a very scenic place, and I just felt like I was kind of spinning my wheels. So the opportunity kind of came along to work on this with Wes, and it actually turned out really well. We had a test screening of it about a month ago, and we've since cut about like a half hour, 40 minutes out of the film, tightening it up over this weekend and then the next couple days, and sending it off to Sundance for the late submission deadline. So pretty excited, Jack. It's nice.
And that sounds kind of cool. Look, I mean, the thing is, too, is that a lot of people that would do documentaries, such as 9/11 documentaries, will continue to stay in that vein, and I guess, give people what it's expected. And for you to kind of go off, and I don't know if you could have done any more to wake people up for 9/11, so certainly you should be able to sleep at night, as Jason and Corey and everybody that worked on that film series. you certainly have contributed, and you've earned the right to move on and to do whatever you want. But that sounds interesting. I hope that you'll let us in on that when it's released. Did you have a release date and where it might be airing?
Yeah, I have no idea. We're going to send it off to Sundance, and hopefully we get accepted into Sundance. And then if that happens, they let everybody know in the first week of December, and then Sundance is, I think, the third week of January in 2011. So I mean, for it to even get accepted into Sundance would be phenomenal. I mean, it'd be my first film accepted into a film festival of that caliber. So it'd be incredible for it to even be accepted.
The Loose Change series. Was the Loose Change series ever entered in? I believe the last one was. You were entered into film festivals, right?
We didn't enter into Sundance. We tried a couple, and I actually sent the second edition to Cannes way back in 2005. I didn't expect to get in, but I did it anyway, and of course we didn't get accepted. But I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the main thing that has been refreshing about, working on a movie about coffee as opposed to a movie about September 11th. You can walk up to anybody on the street and go, "Hey, man, you drink coffee?" Or "No, you know someone that does? Great. Well, I got a film that you might want to, you might like." It's a lot easier.
I'm all about. Yeah, I'm all about the coffee. One of our distributors and sponsors makes this beautiful organic coffee that's low on caffeine, actually good for you. We've been trying to get people to switch over to that. Maybe your friend would be interested, but I don't know if we want to get them back on coffee. I take my Interfood, and people can barely keep up with me on this show, as you know, Dylan. Here we are at the 9th anniversary of 9/11. I guess, that you're planning to attend some of the things in New York?
I'm not, because nobody really reached out to me, and nobody offered to cover my plane ticket. So it's
me neither.
But I mean, honestly, Jack, I mean, 2006 was the year, man. I mean, thousands of people came from all over the world. I mean, that was the year of momentum. And I not to say anything negative of what's happening this year and what will continue to happen, but it was like in 2006 we had momentum. It's like we were riding a wave, so to speak. And I don't know, I just feel like every event since then, it just hasn't had the same kind of push. And also, the Big Ten is coming up next year. So I feel like a lot of people, myself included, are just kind of, taking a step back this year and before diving right back into it next year for the big 10-year anniversary. And people affected and people not affected are both, I think, just a little bit. I don't want to say burnt out, because I mean you'll always be.
Well, it's been 9 years. Yeah, it's been 9 years. I mean, when we think about 9/11, that was only 6 years, I believe, if my math is right, after Oklahoma City, and people just dropped that like a hot potato. So things happen, and history progresses, and we're all I guess pretty busy. I'm definitely going out myself for the 10th year, and I'm looking forward to that. But I got to tell you, you did such a great job, you guys, at that Treason in America conference. And I know a lot of the conferences have died down, and the attendance out there in Pennsylvania a couple of months ago, it wasn't bad, I guess, for one of these events. 200 people, great speakers, music, all of that. But the fact that it made it on the Nightline, and you guys were just so antagonistic with the interviewer from Nightline, who was obviously trying to frame us for some kind of a violent extremism at the time. Was just textbook example on how to handle these people and how they need us more than we need them.
Yeah, the guy wasn't there to learn. That much was for sure. So.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I have Michael Springman on the show in the second hour. They were there. They didn't even talk to him or Colleen Rowley or anyone else.
Or Bob McElveen,
Right.
It's ridiculous, but at the same time, it's totally expected.
Stay with us. Dylan Avery is on the line, and when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about this new campaign that's out right now, Building What. I think it's pretty efficient. I like where they're going with it. There's a new Daniel Sinjata ad for this. It's called the Zapruder film of 9/11. We'll air that when we come back, and more with Dylan Avery on Deadline Live. Stay with us, Rents Radio.
On the evening of March 6, 1975, more than 11 years after the assassination of JFK, the Zapruder film was aired on Goodnight America. For the first time ever, millions of Americans saw with their own eyes the brutal tragedy that had unfolded a decade earlier on a sunny afternoon in Dallas. The image of the president's body being thrust backward proved in a split second the fatal shot came from in front of the motorcade. In an instant, refuting a fairy tale that had prevailed for more than a decade. A few seconds of footage changed the way a people thought about the event of their generation, and public outcry led to a new congressional investigation. It is now September 2010. 9 years have passed since the 9/11 attacks, and Building 7 has been hidden from public view because it is the Zapruder film of 9/11. A body being thrust backwards. A skyscraper coming down in free fall. Certain images speak for themselves because they speak in the language of common sense. Only a few seconds of footage have the power to awaken the public to the truth. Help put the footage of Building 7 on every TV screen in New York. Go to buildingwhat.org to contribute.
Brian Fox, a great song, if you like it. Also, you just heard the newest installation for Building What, this Zapruder film of 9/11, narrated by Daniel Sinjata, who has also did a great job on Dylan Avery's last film, 9/11, An American Coup. Dylan, have you had a chance to check out Building What, the campaign, and what insights do you have on that at all?
I've seen the ads. I didn't see the Sinjata one that you just played, but I did see the green screen one with Bob McElvain and a couple others. It's a great campaign, man. I wish them the best of luck. I haven't heard exactly. I mean, they're still pushing for funding, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, and I talked to Manny. I guess he was going to be on the show with us this week to talk about it. Bob Bowman was on yesterday. He's supporting it, buildingwhat.org, and as a former media buyer, I bought a lot of different television and radio over the years. I can tell you how cheap it is to buy cable television. It's unbelievably cheap. And a couple of thousand here and there can get an ad like this on MSNBC in New York or in major cities. And, this has always been one of the things that you get out and you talk to people and you go, hey, do you believe that official story to 9/11? Oh, yeah, I do. What, are you one of those conspiracy theorists? Well, what about Building 7? Huh? Building what? It really is kind of a Zapruder film moment. It really is. If you just look at it as smoking gun, of course, you have done extensive diagnostics on that and the NIST reports, and you have fought all of those battles. But, I got to tell you, instead of going to the referendum, instead of trying to go through the courts and, getting this big new investigation that's never seemed to come, just going right to the people in the court of public opinion with ads like this, I could think it'd be very effective. And minimally, because we're still hanging over our heads, Dylan Avery, is the next 9/11. And the more people we can wake up to false flag terrorism, it's still a good thing.
Absolutely. I concur.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah,
What about? I know you've been really busy with your new film project and your life, and like I said, you've done so much for 9/11 Truth as it stands. What about new evidence? Have you tracked down, you've been keeping track of some of the new developments in the 9/11 case, if anything? Anything catch your eye or ear?
It's just kind of funny. Like, even though I don't want to say that I'm distanced from it, but I'm not checking 9/11 Blogger every day. I'm not nearly as sucked into it as I used to be. For the sake of my mental and physical health, is definitely a good thing. But even though I'm not actively pursuing the news and what's going on in the movement, it still has a way of finding me. On my return back to California from upstate New York, I stopped at a friend's house in Texas, and I don't want to spoil too much or give anything away, and I don't also know if he's already revealed his plans, but the Michael Hess release, the Michael Hess footage of him inside Building 7, I actually heard about that, and then I heard that was going to be released, and then like the next day, people started posting it on my wall on Facebook. But I do believe that Michael Hess video is actually part of a much larger release that's about to happen.
And I mean, you can't tell us any more, because we've got some footage of Michael Hess yelling while trapped in Building 7, which is a bit of a conflict, if I remember, on what he's said in the past. But how do you put that in perspective? Just that alone, what we've already seen. I
don't know. It's difficult to peg a time on it, and that's the one thing that I asked my friend when he brought it up. I was like, "Do you have a time?" He's like, "I don't know. It's definitely after one of the collapses." But if it's before the North Tower has come down, then that would be vital. So I don't know if a time has been pegged on that yet, but it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely, it's definitely just one more piece of the puzzle. So I guess if anything, again, without giving away too much, I think that the movement's going to get a much clearer picture of what happened that day very soon. That's the plan anyway. God bless you.
That, of course, concerns the testimony of Barry Jennings. Michael Hess was with Barry Jennings, the government official who you had gotten an exclusive interview with, and who had been very suspicious of explosions and various versions of the timeline that didn't fit with the government's official story. You can tell that at least one of the buildings had collapsed because of the pulverized cement and dust that was all over in that footage. So at least by then the South Tower had collapsed. Whether or not the North Tower had collapsed is, again, something I don't quite know. I thought it was kind of weird. I saw another piece today with Barry Jennings, and there was a little black man who had saved him wearing a fireman's shirt, but he looked way too old and almost like a bum to be a fireman, and he sounded pretty articulate. That kind of set me back a little bit. I want to ask you about one or two other things, if we could, and keep you for about 10 more minutes. Dylan Avery with us, folks. Stay tuned. Deadline Live. I'm Jack Blood. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Our good friend Dylan Avery has made a special appearance on our show, holding back evidence. No. Somebody break a story on my show. That would be great. Dylan, great to talk to you again, and to know that you're out there having fun and living your life, and not, in a spider hole somewhere, scared to step out into the light. That certainly that's one of the effects about finding out about all the things that we know about. But I don't take a lot of stock in that. I got to live my life, man. I got to have fun and enjoy the life I have. That's why we do this.
Yeah, because otherwise the terrorists win.
Well, whoever the terrorists are. I think Ron Paul kind of nailed this. I posted this earlier today at deadlinelive.info when he said, basically, the Quran burners are the real provocateurs.
Oh my God! I can't.
What do you make of all this?
Going on. It's absolute
It's insane.
Insanity. It is absolute racist insanity, and I can't even believe it's happening. I can, because we live in America, and but. Oh my God, dude! I cannot believe it's actually happening.
Well, they've been on a real run here. First with the whole mosque issue. Before that, of course, Islamophobia and its provocateurism is alive and well. And when that started to die down, well, let's start talking about burning Qurans. You call it racism. I think it's phony racism, because I see something at work here, and that is, vilifying 1.5 billion Muslims around the world. I think we lost Dylan, and let's try to get him back. And that's really, that's why we've been talking about this. Otherwise, it's really kind of a non-story. But it looks as if that we are being provoked into almost a holy war. And when you get some of the intelligence I have from inside the military, just how fundamentalist they force our men and women in the military to be. Oh, I know you hear about, free speech and freedom of religion and freedom of sexuality and all of this. Don't ask, don't tell. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to progress through the ranks, if you want to be accepted, if you don't want to be hazed, if you don't want to be abused, you must go along and be the fundamentalist Christian that can be the onward Christian soldier that's going to fight the Muslims. They're ratcheting this up, and I think there's got to be another attack attached to this somewhere. Did we get Dylan back? Dylan?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm standing in one spot, not moving, so I don't know why the call dropped out.
I won't keep you too much longer, so don't move now while we got you. But I don't know if you heard some of that rant or just assumed some of it, but this kind of fake fermented Muslim hatred, when you look and you see the guy behind this mosque, which they say it is at Ground Zero, really isn't at Ground Zero, is funded by the Ford Foundation. He's a member on the Council on Foreign Relations. He was an emissary from the United States, an ambassador per se for the Bush and the Obama administration. I mean, this guy isn't a terrorist, obviously, but they've chosen this man, Rauf, to be the figurehead of this Islamophobia, which is really running hard on the right for sure.
Yeah, and it's like you said, combine the mosque now with the Quran burning, and you really have to wonder where this is all heading. And I don't know, the Muslims are the new communists. It's just
right.
Just the flavor of the year. People are.
You got to have a boogeyman. You got to have a boogeyman, but you look and how many I know Muslims that are white. Barry Jennings, who we spoke about earlier, was a Muslim, which might have shocked people. He was praying to Allah in Building 7 when he thought he was going to die.
Yep.
It's people of all different kinds, and this whole thing. It's the same way with the Jewish thing on the other side. The Torah says, kill Whitey and kill the Goyim. And sure, there are people out there saying that are Jewish or Zionists or whatever you want to call them. But that doesn't mean that all people of that particular race or religion are out to kill Goyim or kill Christians. And in a way, I'm not religious, so I don't, it doesn't surprise me to see this fighting because it's been going on for thousands of years. But I'm almost getting this picture that we're being set for sectarian violence here in the United States, much in the same way P2OG brought that in Iraq.
Yep. Far be it for me to make a controversial statement, but, organized religion seems to have been more responsible for, thousands of lives being lost as opposed to gained. Just in terms of all the holy wars that have been waged throughout the centuries and all nations, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard for us to believe that we're all one when we're all being told that we're not. So, it's a tough world we're living in.
Yeah, well, I mean, your work has been received pretty well in in Muslim countries and Arab countries, both all different persuasions. I get a lot of views and listeners from those countries on my website as well. I'd like to think that there's at least some of us out there, yourself included, Dylan, that that can show the people of the world that we're not all like Newt Gingrich, or we're not all like a Joseph Farah or this guy, this pastor in Florida that is dead set on burning Qurans, even though he's been told that it will cost lives. I can't get past it. It's something, again, that we report on just because it's constantly in the news. But another reason it might be in the news is so that people aren't talking about 9/11. That's just another distraction in a way, though you can't escape cable TV without watching phony documentary after phony documentary on 9/11 to reinforce the official story.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. It definitely serves to reinforce the myth, and it's worked. It's definitely worked because you have people that are openly saying their religion did 9/11. First of all, religion isn't a big building that's going around knocking down stuff. Religion isn't a thing. It isn't a person. It has no conscience. Religion is made up of people, and people make mistakes, which is, I think, the one thing we've learned with our time on this earth. So, I don't know, man.
You love to see this whole pointing at dangerous extremists, Muslim extremists, when the history of Christianity, just for one, or Judaism, is just fraught with violence and racism and everything else. But okay, all right, we'll drop that. Have you had a chance to see Cognitive Infiltration? I believe that is the head title of the new book by David Ray Griffin. It goes into this whole Obama administration, using old COINTELPRO tactics, which I think they've been doing for a very long time, by the way, involving former Chicago Harvard Law professor Cass Sunstein, who's appointed by Obama to an executive branch office. You've seen the article, I'm sure. Here's a whole book on it by David Ray Griffin. Have you had a chance to go through any of that?
Can't say that I have.
It's timely, though. I know Peter Phillips is pumping it pretty hard at Project Censored. We've posted for my listeners, if you hadn't heard of it, You can check out the book review over at DeadlineLive.info. Cognitive Infiltration, an Obama appointee's plan to undermine the 9/11 conspiracy theory. Why conspiracy theory?
I don't know.
I'm not getting that part of it. Okay.
Me neither. But yeah.
Parting words, Dylan. We got about 30 seconds if you want to leave us with anything, and then I'll look forward to talking to you again real soon.
It's good to be here, Jack, as always, and I still exist. I'm just not making 9/11 movies all the time.
Well, that's not said and done yet. You've got another 9/11 movie in you, I'm sure. Dylan Avery, folks, from Loose Change. Thanks so much, Dylan, for spending a little time with us today and giving us your perspective. We'll be right back, folks.